Okay, we are good to go. We all love compliments, but founders are built different. They are not a big fan of sugar-coated stuff like, hey, interesting idea, or let's catch up soon. They actually crave for honest feedback, tough questions, and maybe even a purchase order. That's where EthAum comes in. Our roast sessions are designed to turn up the heat live and unfiltered. Founders face tough questions, real feedback, and zero fluff from seasoned experts. Think of it like Shark Tank, but less drama and more insights. Today, we have Justin, founder and CEO of Gense Technologies, stepping into the spotlight. He's going to share his solution, answer some tough questions, and get real feedback from our very diverse and awesome panel. Now let's get started with the introduction of our esteemed panelist. If I may request Olivier to go first. Olivier, please, a quick introduction.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction and thanks for the invitation today. So my name's Olly Hulson. I'm a radiology consultant from Leeds in the UK. I work in a large teaching hospital and a cancer centre, and I work across the whole breadth of radiology, including diagnostic and interventional radiology, so CT, MRI, ultrasound imaging. And I'm really excited to see what Justin and the team at Gense have been doing. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Olivier. Really appreciate your time today. Mia, may I request you to go next, please?
Yes. Hi, my name is Mia. I work for a startup that develops an AI for radiologists. It analyzes chest CTs and gives automatic visuals and measurements of the anomalies.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mia. Appreciate your time today. Praveen, may I request you to go next, please?
I am Praveen. I'm an internal medicine consultant, and I work at Math Company, where, to put it simply, I work at the intersection between healthcare and technology. So thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Praveen. Really appreciate your time today. Sowmya, are you available to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Sowmya Srinath. I'm Director for Advisory Services at Frost & Sullivan. I've been with Frost for the last 20 years and worked across the healthcare and medtech sector for the longest time. So happy to be on this meeting to learn more and support.
Thanks a lot, Sowmya. Really appreciate your time. And thanks to all the panelists for your time today. I'm sure that we are going to have some really interesting questions and feedback from your side. Again, don't hold back, be sharp, with your feedback, with your questions. And I'm sure that Justin is very much ready with his responses. Now I will request Justin to briefly introduce himself and then go through the Gense solution. Justin, please.
Right. Thank you very much again. So my name is Justin. I'm the founding CEO of Gense Technologies. That's what I've been doing in the past few years. And perhaps I could just jump straight into the presentation and then we can discuss a bit more after this.
Please.
So let me just pick my screen up to share. So yes, our company is called Gense, and we have a portable AI health screening device, which mainly does two things: preventive screening and chronic disease management. And the most popular scan that we have is in liver. So fatty liver disease, it's over 90% of what we screen. But we've also completed clinical trials in lungs and kidneys that we have some capabilities in as well. So briefly about what we do, you can see on the top left side, that's a palm-sized device, which it is the main device. It's based on a technology called EIT, electrical impedance tomography, and it connects two things. So it connects to the belt that we wear. So if it's fatty liver scan, we wear it just around the waistline, so bottom of the rib cage. And it normally takes 1 minute for us to finish the test. So the other thing that the device connects to is the internet. So through the internet, it goes to the cloud and to the app. So in the app, you can follow instruction to do the test, and the results are basically out in real time as well. So normally after you do the test, 30 seconds later, we can see the results in simple to read terms like numbers and simple advices that has been clinically backed. So a bit about our background. We are backed by Alibaba government in terms of ventures. We've raised our pay round with some of the prominent venture builders, with Gobi Partners and a couple of institutional investors. We have won awards in Forbes and jump-started some regional competitions. And we have quite a few academic partners. So we have more than 10 professors, clinical and engineering, working with us in Hong Kong, in US, and we're starting to have more in Europe and other places in Asia as well, just to validate between different diseases and different ethnic groups. So the reason why we picked fat liver, it's a really prevalent disease. So we're talking about 2 billion people globally having fat liver. And the health economics, both in the private sector and public sector side, is significant as well. So for people who have fat liver versus people who don't, we're doubling the healthcare cost. And a part of it, the reason it's fat liver is the leading cause of HCC, which is the most prevalent type of liver cancer. It causes liver fibrosis and quite a lot of down the line liver disease as well. But the good thing about this is, out of all those liver diseases in the later stage, fat liver is a lot more reversible. So we have seen people reversing it in 3 months, or even if they're really hard working at it, 6 weeks. So this is a part that on the preventive screening side, on the health management side, we can make a real impact here. And that's why we put a focus here. How it works is quite simple. Normally, we have someone who doesn't have to be medically trained. So it could be operated by a nurse, but typically it's operated by social worker volunteers who have minimal training. So we train them for like 30 minutes, an hour. They have a bit of practice and they can put it on easily. So literally just putting on a belt. And then on the middle side, the fat liver scan takes 39 seconds. So typically within a minute. If it's other tests, a bit slightly longer, like 3 minutes or so. And the results are in real time. So when we do screening like this, it could be as fast as 5 minutes per person, and we could done dozens of people in the morning. And if we have more than that, we can host parallel machines and just run it really quickly. So with this sort of form factor, we can do those screening in community centers, in offices, and at home, and in quite a few places that with their partnerships, which I'll get to a bit later. So the technology itself, EIT, it's basically looking at electrical properties. So the EI stands for electrical impedance. An example of that, it's when we sweep across frequencies, electrical frequencies, the signature of those frequencies would change depending on what tissue they have passed through. So the signature for example, fatty liver and a healthy liver tissue, it's very different across frequencies. And that's how we recognize this. And the T in tomography means that we can generate a rough image out that can help us isolate the area that we want to look at, so the region of interest. And that allows us to look at a bit more specific areas that would be more relevant, for example, with liver as well. And after we analyze those data automatically through AI, we don't make our own numbers. We benchmark the standards that are being used. So if we look at fatty liver, we look at something called CAP score, which is an ultrasound-based score. And we also have done validation studies with MRI PDFF, which is also a score that's based on another imaging modality. And the specificity we have is around 80%. So for preventive screening for health management purpose, it is quite decent. So overall, we have done for liver side a couple hundred patients on clinical trial side, and we have done thousands of commercial scans that have been operating in the community. So these are some of the professors and clinical ones that we have recruited patients with, we have published with, and those are across lung, liver, kidney, as well as in other partnerships. We have mathematical professors building an algorithm with us. We have electronics professors who help us with a bit of the signal cleaning and stimulation as well. And that's what the report would look like. It's a very simple 3-tier risk factor, low, medium, moderate, color-coded. And then it corresponds to the range that we're looking at in low, medium, high risk. Again, these are estimated figures based on clinical benchmark that are currently used. So other than this short form of reports, we also have a longer form that goes deeper into what diet specifically, what exercises, what lifestyle changes we could do just to improve their health. So that's really quite helpful for operators that might not have as deep understanding of the disease itself. So all of the report is designed with scalability in mind. So people don't have to really worry about how do I explain a report? How do I provide advice that's legally safe for me to do so? This is the app. It's on Google Store, App Store. It's on Google Play, and it's available in quite a lot of countries as well. So it's very intuitive to use. With our own patents, so 9 patents in total, we have publications alongside professors who are co-authoring with us in Nature, Scientific Reports, and quite a few decent journals in the specific areas. Compliance-wise, we have our ISO standards, so we have the QMS ready. But equally importantly, we have the IEC 60601, which is the medical electronics side of things. So it's gone through the safety and sort of the magnetic disturbance, so that it's safe to use in medical environment as well. So the other ones that we have is 62304, which is the software side of things. So all of those are covered. We're allowed to sell in quite a few countries in the world, and we're expanding into more with more standards that we're working on as well. Some of the clients, we mainly work with elderly homes, with private clinics and the public sector. So I'll talk about clinics a bit more because it's quite different. Clinics, they normally use this for private ones, lead generation and customer engagement. So it's a very easy tool to help conversion of patients. So if you see people having fatty liver, doing a scan like in 5 minutes, and half of them normally have fatty liver, it's much easier to convert to whatever next step that you have. It could be a wellness package, it could be follow-up tests, it could be a general clinical follow-up, whatnot, that might be. And once they do that, immediate follow-up would normally be the patient will ask, okay, I know all this advice. How do I know if I'm getting better? So normally around half of them would immediately book the next test in a quarter. So that's how you build a long-term relationship as well. So that's what we have for private sector. It's both engagement and ongoing sort of maintenance of the patients. In public sector, we're very much helping with pre and post hospital. So how we would look at the earlier side of, for example, fatty liver, so that we can reduce the deterioration and the occurrence of a later stage fatty liver disease like fibrosis and whatnot. So the public sector normally work with maybe elderly centers, community centers, just to do health management campaigns and keep the population healthier. And we also work with some pre-diabetic sort of cohorts. That's what the public sector really concerned about. And we help them maintain that so that they don't go into the actual diabetic stage as well. So all of those are something that we help the public sector to maintain that health economics on that side, so that it makes a bit better sense with a cheaper test, easier to monitor, scalable solution, so that we can operate in that sort of earlier stage. Global partnership wise, we operate in Hong Kong, China. We have some partnerships developing in India, Indonesia as well. And we also have some ecosystem players that are starting to work with us in the UK and US. Some of those are clinical. Some of those are more early stage that we can go into different places for training hospital testing, and some wellness and longevity clinics partnership as well. So that's sort of where we are at right now. So I'll probably end my presentation here, and I'd welcome any feedback or advice we have. So thank you very much.
And thanks a lot, Justin, for the quick presentation. I see Mia has unmuted herself. Mia, please go ahead.
I have many questions. Thank you very much for this.
That's good.
If I am an investor and I'm rich, but I'm slightly dumb, I would not know what's your target audience. I hear about private hospitals, non-private hospitals, but where do you offer general ward, GP, pre-surgery ward? What is this for? Who are you going to sell? Where do I need this?
Primary care. So GPs will be one of those. Elderly homes, elderly community centers will be one of those. Wellness, longevity clinics. The B2B side, it's normally work with, and they will package it to sell per scan or per package to their consumer clients.
Okay, you really need two slides on that. My father runs an elderly home. Trust me, no one cares if they have a fatty liver at 85.
Yeah,
also,
so please, continue.
No, go on. Do say.
Oh, right. So when we talk about elderly, it's a sort of a wider spectrum. So in some jurisdiction, we were looking at 55 or above. That's sort of when I don't know. It's a wide
middle age now.
They call it young old. I'm not going to mess with their terminology, but that's sort of what we're looking at now. A lot of those not elderly homes, like palliative care, we don't really do. Like you said, there's no point going to palliative care. But a lot of those let's not call it elderly home, elderly centers. They're daycare ones. They do active health management. They have ones that people move into when they're in the late 50s and can still run for 10 kilometers. Those are part of the elderly homes that we work with.
Maybe you can call it active but vulnerable groups. I don't know.
Yeah. No, those would be more accurate.
So fatty liver, you can check with a simple blood draw, costs 60 cents. Why would we invest in this?
So fatty liver itself would not be tracked by a blood draw. There are liver enzyme and other things, but fatty liver in itself probably would not be, not that I'm aware of. Normally it would be something called fibroscan, transient elastography, or other like MRI PDFF, but in itself it might be inferred, but it's not a direct indicator by a blood draw. And so that's the first thing. The second thing, it's so some of the partners that we work with in Southeast Asia, they do blood draw as well, like they do home care blood draw. But the problem is once they do a blood draw, they probably need to go back to the lab, and then they have to follow up after. So part of them, when they do home visits, they like to do this at the same time, and then they give feedback right on the spot. And that helps a lot with that delivery or whatever follow-up they want to make sure there is on the spot as well. So that's also one thing that we look at that could be an advantage. But thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the recommendation, Mia. I think that's quite helpful. I see Sowmya has unmuted herself. Sowmya, please.
Yes, so I wanted to understand what's the classification of your device?
Sowmya, please speak a bit louder.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
What's the classification of your device? Is that class 1, class 2? Is it software as a medical device? How do you classify it?
So it's a 2A. So when we classify this, we put the software into part of that device as well. So that's how we go through the entire QMS and the safety testing as well.
Okay, it's class 2A, and it's a screening device, correct?
Yes, correct.
So its current indication approved is for liver. Is that correct? Fatty liver. So
yeah, the safety test that we have completed, it's on liver, lungs, and kidney, but mostly commercially operational. That we're pushing liver the most.
Okay, so if you have done clinical testing, have you done that in generic population, or have you done that exclusively for fatty liver patients to see what's the false negative, etc.?
So each of the disease we work with healthy and sort of disease patients. So the spectrum of who we test, diseased and non-diseased, around 18 to 95 years old. Both with fatty liver, some with fibrosis, with a bit of complication as well. And male, female, all the spectrum are quite well spread out. I don't know if it answers your question.
No, so I wanted to, there are two aspects, right?
Yeah.
What indications can your device screen is one. But for the effectiveness of your device, the clinical trial part of it, where the effectiveness, when you test 10 fatty liver patients, all the 10 show up here as fatty liver. When you find patients that are in, undiagnosed with fatty liver, but have the condition, when you screen for them, how does it work? That will show the effectiveness of your device, right? In the disease diagnosis and screening itself. So want to know, have you done these tests separately, or have you just done the test as a screening device? What's the output?
So we benchmark with clinical standards as well. So whenever we test the patient, we'll test them with ultrasound and sometimes also with MRI.
Okay.
And then we compare the two results. So the sensitivity, specificity we have is around 80% so far.
Okay.
And what I can add is with the data that we have, we're actually closer to MRI than we're to ultrasound.
Okay, so the next question is, because Mia did ask this question, who's your target audience? You said elderly and the GP clinics, all of these facilities that are non-hospital, correct?
Yes, so pre-hospital mostly, yes.
Outside hospital ecosystem. Now, in the outside hospital ecosystem, how many times will somebody come to a doctor, hey, I'm having a liver problem? That's not going to be there, right? So they would not know what is the problem. So when they come, the doctor is not going to use your device on every potential patient to say, check if they potentially have a fatty liver or not. So I'm trying to understand what is your positioning. It is a screening device that you want to place in a GP clinic or any other facility that is non-hospital, where the patient potential that comes could be much lower than ideal scenario. Because your indication is not for every organ. There are certain indications that your organs, certain indication that it will work for. So you have to screen that correctly, because otherwise everybody is not going to buy this.
Yeah. So two scenarios, right? Either private sector or public sector. Private, it's mainly just profit driven, and that's why whenever they buy this, they normally use it as a lead generation tool, just to offer a really easy way to convert customers. So it does happen when they go to corporate services. So normally they would do wellness talks, they might do fascination, but to actually convert into customers, it's not that easy. So when you go to them and then you have a bunch of people having fatty liver, they would ask for follow-ups. So that's one side of things, and the engagement as well. So customers do come and go quite a lot of times, especially when you're doing body checks. Once you have body check, you might be referred to someone else, and it's normally every year or 2 years. There's no follow-up, and it's hard to keep sort of an ecosystem when they do this. So that's engagement too. So it's part of those clinics that we're working with, mainly more premium ones. They offer those health management wellness services, and that's the ongoing sort of testing management that they quite like in terms of that aspect as well. And that's how we operate in the private sector. So public sector, it's normally just health management, how we can reduce in a really cheap way later stage liver issues. So they don't have to operate themselves, not even clinics. Sometimes they just train whatever clinical organization that have capacity and want to offer more services, and they educate them to help them manage those people. So that's the scalability part in the public sector side. That's why when I talk about elderly, it's more of NGO charities that look at middle age or above people that are more active and vulnerable, like Mia said, and that's sort of the target audiences we're targeting right now.
So one thing, right? Your product should be either a screening device or a prognosis device. You are now telling me that it is not just a screening device to diagnose if the patient has a condition or not, but once they have a condition, they'll go back and come back to check if it's sustained the same way. That is prognosis, right? Has it improved? Has it increased? Has it decreased? Has it the same way? That is prognosis. Like from the time it's diagnosed to it is actually required to be treated with an intervention. That entire timeline is called the prognosis period. So what you're telling me is just not a screening device, it's a prognosis device as well. Then the place where it will be used will be different. So the positioning of the product has to be clear in where you want to do that, so that you know what you're trying to market it as, and then maximize your potential there. That is one thing that I want to say. And the second thing is, you mentioned that you want to take this to the wellness ecosystem, private sector, etc. How many wellness clinics exist to the number of GP clinics that exist? So if you really want to take it the wellness way, and it will not be driven by clinics only, you have to take a different route to it. So the channel that you take to it and who will pay for it makes a difference. Now, fatty liver or kidney problem is undiagnosed largely because people don't realize until the symptoms show up, right? So you need to look at that population that could have a high risk of this and manage that. So that is not going to necessarily come into the wellness clinics because they don't even probably look at it that way. And they definitely do not come into the GP clinics because they have not thought about that as pain because it's not showing symptoms. So you really need to look at which is the sector or which is the set of people that will pay to be diagnosed early. And who is that audience that will pay for it? So you have to think about it differently. I have a view and have an answer because I do work with other companies that are doing similar kind of products, and I understand how it could work. But you need to know who you have to take it to. It is not necessarily a GP always, and definitely not necessarily a wellness clinic, because in 5 years' time, you would have maximized the potential that you could look at as wellness clinics, because they are only so much in the country and or any given country, and they're not going to expand to like the way GP clinics are expanding. So just telling you how I look at it, and I will probably leave it to others to also, share their views. But I wanted to share that, hey, you really have to look at your positioning and your target audience and what you want to do with your device, so that the pay that comes out is not just for 1 year, it sustains. Because once you sell a device to a clinic, for another 5 years, you may not necessarily have to replace it. Then you will lose your, potential to take to new audiences. So you can't become a mature company in 5 years' time. How do you go about that? It's about who will pay for it and how do you take it to that?
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sowmya. I see Olivier has some questions.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Justin, for your presentation. I think it sounds really interesting. I think fatty liver disease is definitely underdiagnosed in the Western population. We pick it up incidentally when we do ultrasounds for lots of different reasons. And there is definitely a health economic burden with it. So I can certainly see the validity of your tool. I'm interested in you said sensitivity and specificity are around 80%. So is that for both of them is my one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And that's been compared against both ultrasound and MRI, yeah? So that's your
Yes.
gold standard, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So that's, on the face of it, that seems reasonable. I would probably like the sensitivity to be higher than that. So we're not missing any cases. And then I'd expect the specificity to maybe a bit lower. So you're using it as a catch-all, but that's fine. How much is it? And is it a subscription-based model for the app and things like this? Or how do you see the finances around it?
Right. So it ranges according to geographical locations, but we mainly have two charging models. The first one is the device itself. The hardware cost, including all the accessories, is a couple $1,000 US. So it
2,000.
depends a couple thousand. So it really depends on region.
Okay.
And then in itself, we have mentioned in the previous panelist, so there's a longer term sort of revenue stream as well. So per scan, per report, we do charge a small amount as well. So depending on the volume, it's typically within $5 to $10. So that's
Okay.
including all the consumables and the report and the digital generation of all of it.
And do you see, patients, consumers using this themselves, like we use kind of Apple Watch and, looking at cholesterol and things? Do you think people will be interested in this 6 monthly or annually, or do you think something that people will own themselves, or will it be a kind of clinic-based system, I guess?
So I would say, as of right now, those might not be our main target audience. Simply because if we want to go to that path, which is sort of down the line in our plans, we do need more indications. So if it's more holistic, then it makes more sense. Right now, if we're focusing on liver, a bit of lungs function and kidney disease, those are not, like you said, something that we need to test more often than every quarter.
No.
So that might not warrant a device in itself unless you're super wealthy.
Yeah.
But when we add more indications inside, that becomes a more B2C.
You see it fitting
target.
into that kind of like holistic longevity type clinic approach, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Olivier. Praveen?
Yeah. So, Justin, good device. I think it's a good idea. My question is, how do you factor in the biological confounders like obesity or edema? Like, how does your model handle? Because if you're looking at a real population, like a global scale, like the skin color is different. There are so many other factors. Like, how do you factor that in with your model?
So that's part of the model as well. When we do the test itself, we do need people to put in a bit of the basic sort of information. So we do the ROI that we look at. It's different according to, for example, the circumference of your waist, because liver stays roughly the same size regardless of the circumference. So stuff like that we tune into algorithm as well. So same as other factors like a male, female, sometimes, especially for lungs, the placement and sort of anatomy is somewhat different. So all those are factored in, and we have done subjects that are obese and all the way to super thin patients as well. So all of those are built into the algorithm.
And what's the accuracy in, say, for example, obese patient, like a BMI more than 30? Like, do you have any numbers?
I can send you the papers, but from what I recall,
Okay.
it's pretty stable across the BMI.
All right.
Yeah.
And your device uses the internet, and you obviously store all the information in your server. And when you have to go through the regulatory process, for example, if you have to work in the US, you need FDA approval and sort of those things. So how are you going to handle those kind of stuff?
So we have two types of servers. One server is for software analysis. All of those are de-identified, so we don't know who the patients are. We don't know basically anything. And then we go to the specific partition server that only our sort of clients that the institutions can access. So it's basically end-to-end. They can decrypt whatever patient and match a record, and no one else other than the institution itself can access those data. So that's how we do that sort of de-identify process so that we don't access the data.
My last question is two parts. One, is it that this data can be integrated into any other EHR that the hospital is using or the GP is using? That's one. Other thing is, how good is the compliance in your existing sites, the usage, and what's the response from the doctors?
So we do have the APIs that we need to do to integrate with whatever system. It's doable. So some system might require a bit of development, but it's not rocket science for us. So it's entirely doable. In terms of compliance, we have gone through several really big corporate technical due diligence when they did the integration with us. So we have passed through those as well. So that would be one of the ways that we can say the compliance is decent there.
Thanks a lot, Praveen. I know,
Thanks.
Mia, you had question, and at that time
You have an app, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you would not want to say you charge for the app as well?
We don't charge for the app.
You don't? Okay.
We don't charge for the app. So it's by usage. So one scan includes the consumables and includes the report generation. So that's sort of the recurring revenue side of things.
Okay. Is there something from this 30 minutes that you can pick up, summarize for us what you have learned?
Right. So are we concluding, or do we have more questions?
No. I think we do have more questions. Yeah.
Yes. So if you don't mind, I'll do all of this, and then we can do that conclusion.
Yep. Olivier, Praveen, any other question from your side?
Not from me, no, thank you.
Okay.
There are many impedance-based devices that exist, right? Like there are many. There are many. And what's your defensible IP beyond hardware and your signal reconstruction, ML models, or anything else? What's your IP?
So most of the impedance device, like the BIA, body impedance and analysis, they take 2 to 6 points. So normally these are your hands and then your feet, and then maybe 2 more electrodes. And when you think about this, the electricity has to pass through quite a lot of different organs and tissues. And you wouldn't exactly know what signal you're picking up. So if we're looking at a cross-sectional area where we were about, and then we're looking at maybe this sort of size in terms of the height of the signal that we're gathering, then it becomes a lot more particular and specific. So other than just picking up that cross-section, we do the image generation as well. So we do a cross-section based on the 16 electrodes we have around that cross-section. And then we basically do something slightly similar to what CT does. We do back projection just to calculate back what's inside each of the areas, sort of the sort of intersections between those points, so that we can get a better sense of what each of the points within the intersection the value is. And based on that, we pick the ROI. So what I would say is the algorithm is a lot more specific, and the data is a lot more specific as well. And in terms of defensibility, like you said, hardware, it's not the biggest moat. It has to be the software. So because electricity doesn't go in a straight line, it's not as simple as a CT back projection algorithm. We need to have a lot of nonlinear equations, partial differential considerations and all of that. And that's why we had a mathematical professor working with us on getting some better signal out from all of this. And most of the postdocs that we had in the project are basically math background, just because of that. So that's the main defensibility, if you will.
Thank you. Thank you. I think, Praveen, you're on mute.
Yeah, that did answer my question.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I have a question.
Please.
Okay. I'm going to tell you something that hurts me and my company the most. So let's see how you cope with it.
That's what you want, please.
Your product is nice to have. Why would I buy it?
Yeah. So it's for private sector, it's mainly about can we make that money? That's really it. But public sector, you can have that health economics argument, but obviously it takes a bit longer, and then see if you get to the right partners. So it's about that managing stakeholders in public sector, which I'm sure you know quite a lot about, and it's geography and partner specific, and whether you have a right KOL for this. So I'll leave that aside. Private sector, we see some clinics like using our stuff. It's just because we get them more customers. Like there would be a very good way just to convert them more people to use their service, easier for them to re-engage those customers, book the next appointment. And that's the value that we have. And it's at the end of the day as simple as that for some of those. And some of those like offer this more premium service. But again, it helps them with upselling as well. So if they offer the blood test, that you need to go back to test and whatever, but first is something that you can have right away, and give them a sort of a complementary side that blood test does not cover, then it's another way to engage more customers and engage more follow-up as well. And that's really that for us.
Awesome.
You just leaned completely into this out-of-pocket patient payment wellness area.
So the private side,
I'm
yes.
not gonna repeat, but you really need to kind of see what's your channel and what's your target group. But here you're not addressing the hospital screening scenario at all. So maybe, yeah.
So yeah, so that's why I talk about the public sector side. The public sector side, it's mainly about the health economics, and so it's very, very geographical specific, depending on what policy that they're pushing forward. And we work with those key opinion leaders. Just that once we have that key person that we work with, we play to that agenda and make sure we help them along with whatever health economics metrics that we can help them fill. So that's why I'd say we can't fully go into this during the call, because it will be a very, very long discussion over this. But like I said, it's something that's hugely important. It's very scalable once we do it, but it's not one size fits all as well.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Justin, for answering all these questions. Praveen, I know you unmuted yourself. Any question, any comment?
Yeah. What's the biggest limitation? What worries you as of today in your technology?
So it's still a relatively new technology, and I think it's a recurring theme as well. The sort of mutual education part is something that we do need to look into. And because we're looking at preventive screening, doesn't matter where in the world, it's still a relatively not as mature concept. So how we fit into the sector, how we work with the right partners, how we make sure we incentivize everyone, is something that we're constantly learning. And then that's why I really appreciate Pinkacha offering this sort of a panel discussion, just to see it might not be the way we solve the problem itself. It might be sometimes how we present it, how we manage the stakeholders, and how we can sort of find good ways to go into markets. And then this sort of conversation really does help. But I would say the main hurdle is understanding the correct positioning in each of the geographic markets when it's such a sort of a forefront that we're developing on the preventive primary care side.
Okay.
Right.
Can I ask something? Oliver said he would like to have more sensitivity. You have 80, right? Are you plan on working on reaching more sensitivity? Are you enriching the data?
So it's a balance, right? And if we need to increase the sensitivity and lower the specificity, we can do that right now. Because those two are something that you give and take. So it's something that we certainly can offer perhaps a different kind of algorithm model that we will cater to different sort of settings. It's doable as well. But at the same time, yes, we have more clinical trials coming through. We're upgrading both the hardware and software just so that we can increase both sensitivity, specificity, as well as more indicators. So to answer, yes.
I think that's a really good point, Mia, and Justin. And I would say if you're looking at the screening and the longevity setting, every case that slips through your net is bad for your reputation. And so I think any kind of screening tool should be very, very high on sensitivity and lack specificity because you're using it as a screening test, aren't you? So I would encourage you to ramp up the sensitivity and possibly lose some specificity for that reason.
Yeah.
Is there something a bit you can say about the technology you're using? Maybe it was missed, but again, I may be rich, but slightly dumber investors, so you have to also focus your slides on those.
Right. Sorry, could you repeat that? Is that a question?
What is something about a technology that you're using? Is it AI? Is it deep learning? What are the data you use to train? What is this technology that you're using?
So there's hardware part and software part. The hardware is all proprietary. We develop it all in-house. So the signal, how we stimulate, how we make sure it's clean, and how we process it, that's something that we can go deeper into. But for the purpose of this conversation, I'll focus more on software. So yes, when we train all of this, it's done on AI, a lot of deep learning, but a lot of those is actually pre-AI side. So the hardest part is how do you get a good quality data so that you can train on good stuff. So a lot of data cleaning, a lot of pre-processing. It's mainly what we do. That is the core parts of the technology. Obviously, there are a lot of AI coming involved in all of this, and with that, we generate a sort of a stable algorithm that we can just plug into the software itself. But all that pre-processing, all the pre-study with AI, it's a core part that we do as well. And like we said, a really complex side of anything that's electrical based, going through any biological tissue, is that it doesn't go in straight line. If it doesn't go in straight line, it becomes a much more complex mathematical problem. And in order to solve that, you do need a lot of researcher that's really good at what they do to extract as much signal out as possible. So that would be what I say the core part of technology would be as well.
Okay. I mean, Oliver was nodding. I don't know if he was nodding at some email or what you were saying, but for me, I did not understand. I mean, too much pre-processing, which is not so important. You need to work on this answer, maybe.
Sure.
Oliver, were you nodding at what was he was saying or an email?
Yeah, I was nodding with Justin. Yeah, it makes sense to me, but I apprite,
Okay,
yeah.
So you just sold it to a radiologist, but you did not sell it to a slightly dumb investor.
No. I work on that
I
as
think
well, so
that
thank you.
perspective is also very important. So
Yes.
thanks a lot, Mia, for that.
Yeah. So
I think you just have to put it out there that your device will decrease cost of care, reduce unnecessary imaging if necessary, in those patients, and also improve the early diagnosis in a measurable way. I think that could be your selling point to catch investors' eye.
Yeah, I agree, Praveen. There's so much focus now on early cancer detection. Prostate cancer is a big thing in the UK right now. In actual fact, more people are going to die from diabetes, liver disease, heart disease than they are from prostate cancer in the UK. So I think early diagnosis of non-malignant diseases such as fatty liver, heart disease, diabetes is essential. So I think there's real potential with this, but I think you need to get your focus right on who it is you're selling to and your target audience. I would say, as Mia said, an 80-year-old with fatty liver, who cares? A 40-year-old, very, very, very important. So yeah, I would really drill down on who it is you want to target, ramp up that sensitivity. And I think there's potential there.
Yeah. I
No,
don't know
thank you.
how it is selling in Asian hospitals, but I can tell you if you sell to European hospitals, you're gonna need a huge package, a lot of on sensitivity, a lot of data, a lot of numbers. Also, maybe something you can look at, it's not now important for selling, but for this screening, for this population selection, maybe is there a correlation between fatty liver and liver cancer? If you can say fatty liver is a pre something for liver cancer, maybe this is, okay, if you detect it earlier, you can maybe prevent, or you can screen those people that's already your high risk group for liver cancer. So if this can be your prerequisite for liver cancer or pre-stadium for liver cancer, that could be good. Maybe you can look at the relationship between those.
No. All of those are really helpful as well. It's the
So-
leading cause of liver cancer, but the conversion rate it's not something that you would
Okay.
jump at.
It's
But it's the
fine.
leading cause.
Well, you want to maybe look at what is this going to tell about pre-cancer population? Maybe what is this pre-stadium of? That's very
Absolutely.
interesting for
Yep.
screening, because they want to
Cool.
stop it or detect it, or kind
Yeah.
of segregate those people which are high risk because they cost a lot once they risk.
Yeah. No, thank you very much.
But that's
Thank
for
you.
European hospitals. I've never sold in Asia. I don't know.
No, that's very, very different. Even in Europe,
There's
I
less
imagine
wellness in Europe and more rigid medicine. Just ask
it is.
Oliver.
It's certainly not the easiest market.
Yeah. It's too expensive to have wellness here. We just go to the doctors.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So, Mia was asking earlier to probably summarize or highlight your key takeaways. After the key takeaway, I would also request you to probably ask one or two questions to the experts on probably, how your GTM or product roadmap may look like in the future. So please go ahead, Justin. What are your key takeaways?
So I really appreciate all advice, and I think there are two main things that we'll definitely work back on. The first one is the positioning. So how we can articulate better, even with all the things that we've tested, which are the key end customers and sort of a key intermediaries that we will go through. So that's one side. Second part is just messaging. How we can make sure we communicate well with all the audiences. And those would be the two main key takeaways, and we'll make sure I watch back the recordings just to pick up on all the small points that we have discussed over today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Any questions that you have, Justin, for the experts?
So yes, it's a really good opportunity after the long discussion, just with the gut feeling of the limited information that we've discussed today. What would be an interesting go-to-market or sort of the focus that we should start investigating further, just from a gut feeling with the limited information that we have? That could be a good starting
point. That's the $1 million question, Justin.
Yes.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, of course. Oliver.
So I can only talk on the UK and European market, but there is so much in I think in healthcare in the UK for too long we've dealt in illness and disease, and there's a real move now to deal in health and wellness. And so the longevity, the health prevention, the health promotion market is growing massively.
Yes.
And I'd say in the US as well, Peter Attia's Outlive and this type of thing. So I think this could really fit in a holistic kind of longevity or wellness assessment for patients. In the UK, around the age of 40, you're invited to a health check with your GP. But they mainly just do like a battery of blood tests and blood pressure and things. So we don't pick up fatty liver. We don't often pick up pre-diabetes. We don't pick up heart disease. But people are willing to pay for these things. And also, I think, now that we all have smartwatches and tracking and things, if people can see things getting better over time, it kind of gamifies it as well. Yeah. So we've got the Zoe project in the UK, and it kind of gamifies, like healthy eating. So I definitely think this could fit into that type of longevity approach. And that is a massive growth market in the UK right now. Yeah.
No, that's really, really good advice. We'll be sure to push more into this. Thank you.
I think to what Oliver is saying, I think at least in the last 3 years, I've seen a lot of rise in fatty liver cases, especially in non-alcoholics. And that's like a big problem. But right now, there is like a new fad of GLP-1s, and everybody is on GLP-1. And there are studies which say that it's reversing fatty liver. Essentially, you're losing weight and losing the fat around your liver. So maybe you can just take the patients who are on GLP-1 and use in those cases and show them that it is really helping in real time without every time doing an MRI and ultrasound. You're getting the progress of the patient. You could even tie up with those companies. There are hardly 2 or 3 companies which manufacture GLP-1s.
I think that's a really
Because
good point, Praveen. Yeah, maybe even a collaboration with one of the GLP-1 companies, a pre and post. That could be really powerful because, as you all know, weight and BMI is a very crude indicator of your kind of visceral fat and this type of thing. Whereas we pick up an awful lot of undiagnosed fatty liver on ultrasound. So I think that's a really good point, Praveen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow,
You can
fantastic.
open
Yeah,
a pharma channel as well, and I call it a pharma channel besides this wellness / private and public, and then you have pharma and be like, I can help you detect this, and then you have more meds to sell. It's just a couple of thousands of euros a year or whatever. It's pennies for them, but if they can distribute it to a few GPs or private hospitals or whatever, it can be more money for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That will be a lot more direct as well. It's really good advice.
those were some solid recommendations from our panelists. So thanks a lot, panelists, for these recommendations, for some direct questions. Really appreciate that. I think this is how we want to run these roast sessions in the future. So really appreciate for setting up the right example. Justin, what you did today is extremely commendable. You invited criticism for yourself in such a live stream public forum and responded to all the questions very positively with a smile on your face. So really appreciate that. I think your guts, your positivity is truly inspiring. So thanks a lot for that.
Thank you.
I hope this session brings new energies, new ideas, and growth trajectory for Gense Technologies. I hope that does happen. Again, thanks everybody. If we can reconnect later on a side conversation and probably explore more synergies, areas of collaboration, then that would be even better. Yeah. Please feel free to send more comments on email later on. But yeah, thanks a lot for your time today, and we'll reconnect soon.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity, guys. Really interesting. Good luck, Justin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing
you. It was great.